Welcome, and thanks for your interest in Wyoming's wild turkey hunting regulations, our Chapter 20. I'm Joe Sandrini, wildlife biologist here in the Black Hills, and I'll be your guide as we go through the proposed changes to this upcoming fall turkey season and the spring season of 2024. Currently, Wyoming has 5 wild turkey hunt areas, and they're managed under 2 general management strategies. Hunt Area 1, the Black Hills, Hunt Area 2, Central, Hunt Area 4, the Bighorn Basin, and Hunt Area 5, South Central, are managed to emphasize spring gobbler hunting with somewhat limited take of either sex turkey in the fall. Whereas Area 3, Powder River, is managed for maximum fall and spring harvest to reduce populations. Turkey populations in Wyoming are really driven by poult production and survival, and then overwinter survival of adults. The Black Hills is the only area in the state where we do poult surveys every year, and these are some of the data that we've collected the last few years. We have the red line is the number of poults per brood, the purple is the poults per hen, and this green down here are the toms per hen, and these are data that are collected in August. What we found is the poults per brood is the best indicator of population trends and what the hunting is going to be like in future years. And if you look at both our poults per hen and poults per brood through time, these dashed lines are long-term averages. And so you can see that basically the past 5 or 6 years or so, we've been either at or above average as far as poult production and survival. Whereas our tom ratios remain fairly constant. We had a bit of an uptick in 2020, coincided also with an uptick in our poult production and survival. But what this means, especially this increasing trend here in the poults per brood, is that our populations have increased not only in the Black Hills but statewide, where these data are generally reflective of that as well. So if we look at what's happened with wild turkey harvest since 2013, last 10 years or so, if we look at fall harvest, it's remained fairly unchanged. There's a little bit of an increase in here the last couple years. Spring harvest, however, is what we're a little bit more interested in, because the take of tom turkeys in the spring is fairly indicative of what your populations are doing. It gives you a good index on your populations. And so what we can see is that we bottomed out back here, after about the 2010-11 winter or so, and then we were gradually building turkey populations in the state, had a bit of a decline, and then if you remember from that poult data, we had a great increase in poult production and survival, and that's been reflected in this increase in spring harvest. So things are looking pretty good, especially for this next spring and probably the spring after if we don't have a really bad winter. So let's go ahead and look at our proposed hunting seasons for this coming fall. In the Black Hills, Area 1, we're looking at maintaining the September archery-only season with a general license, but we are proposing to increase the fall season instead of just running the month of November, which it's been traditionally, running it from October 1 to December 31. And that's because we have got good populations of turkeys up here right now, and they're causing a few nuisance and damage issues, so it'd be nice to increase that harvest a little bit. And again, in the firearm season, a general license will get you any wild turkey. In Area 2, Central, we're not looking at any changes for this coming year. So we're looking at both a general and a Type 3 season, with the season dates being September 1 to September 30 for archery, and then October 1 to December 31 for any wild turkey with either a general or a Type 3 license. And those Type 3 licenses are valid only in Converse and Natrona counties. Moving up to Hunt Area 3, Powder River, we're looking at maintaining the same season date, so it's just a September 1 to December 31 general license any wild turkey season, and that's both archery and firearms. And then with the Type 3 license, we're looking at an increase of 100, so going from 250 to 350 licenses that are valid those same season dates for any wild turkey. In Hunt Area 4, the Bighorn Basin, no changes are proposed for this next fall. So that means we'll have a September archery season, and then October 1 to December 31 firearm season, where you can use a general license for any wild turkey. Our final hunt area to look at for this coming fall is Hunt Area 5, our south central area, and no changes are proposed there. So again, that'll be a general license hunt area with a September archery season and then a firearm season that runs October 1 to December 31. So moving on to our proposed spring hunting seasons, and this will be for the spring of 2024. In the Black Hills, we're looking at maintaining our general license season with the standard spring dates of April 20th to May 31st. And again, a general license will get you any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard. One change we are looking at is we're proposing to add a Type 3 limited quota license, just 100 licenses, and that would have an earlier opening date, April 1, still closing on May 31, and that would be valid for any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard, however valid only on private land. And this new Type 3 license we're issuing on a trial basis as we're looking at the concept of moving to a statewide hunt area for wild turkeys, so there'd only be one hunt area for the entire state, but I'll go over that towards the end of our presentation. In Hunt Area 2 for this coming up, or spring of 2024 anyway, we're looking at having our standard general license season of April 20th to May 31st. And then with the Type 3 license, that limited quota license, increasing the number issued from 200 to 250. And that season will open April 1st, running to the end of May, for any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard in Natrona County only. And then April 20th, that same Type 3 license will open up in Converse County as well as being in valid in Natrona County as well. We move to the Powder River, Hunt Area 3, not looking at any changes up there for the spring season of 2024. So there are season dates run April 1 to May 31, and a general license will get you any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard. In addition, we'll be issuing 400 of the Type 3 licenses. This spring season in Area 3 is designed to reduce populations. That earlier opener, that April 1st opener, can negatively impact mating and reproductive success of turkeys. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we get down the road here. But that's why there's an earlier opener in Area 3 and also in Natrona County on that Type 3 license and the proposal in Area 1 on that Type 3 license. Those are intended to impact populations negatively, and those are in areas where we want to reduce turkey numbers. In Hunt Area 4, the Bighorn Basin for spring of 2024, we're not looking at any changes, so retaining the standard April 20th to May 31st season with the general license valid for any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard, except that the Wyoming Game and Fish Yellowtail Wildlife Habitat Management Area is closed, so you cannot use your general license on the yellowtail. If you want to hunt the yellowtail, you'll need to draw Area 4 Type 1 license, and we're proposing to have 50 of those, and they're valid for any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard in the entire hunt area. So you can go ahead and use that on the yellowtail. Our final spring season to look at is our South Central area, Area 5, and there we're looking at no changes for 2024. So retaining the standard spring dates of April 20th to May 31st with the general license, and again, as in the other areas, valid for any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard. I mentioned earlier that we're considering the idea of going to a single statewide hunt area for wild turkey. This is only a concept at this point. If it was something that we did, we wouldn't move on it until fall of 2024 and spring of 2025. But we wanted to bring it out to the public at this time just to kind of get a feel for what there is for support or lack of support for this idea. The primary reason for going to a single statewide hunt area would be to simplify the regulations. It'd make it easier both for residents and non-residents to understand, and especially as spring turkey hunting has gotten more popular, it's something I think we can do to make things a little bit easier both on the managers and the hunters. And so some of the ideas we're looking at, and again, these are only concepts, would be in the fall on a general license statewide, so you could hunt the entire state, in the month of September with archery only for any wild turkey. Then come October 1st, you could use a firearm to hunt any wild turkey with the general fall license until the end of the year, December 31. We'd also look at possibly issuing a Type 3 license, and that would be a limited quota license. How many we would issue, it's yet to be determined. Those would be, again, our population reduction tags. Licenses that we issue specifically for areas where we want to reduce wild turkey populations. And so there, we may have those valid in a specified set of counties, so maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different counties, or maybe valid only on private land where we're having problems, or perhaps some combination thereof. And so we'd have an archery season on that Type 3 the month of September, and then a firearm season on that Type 3 running October 1 to the end of the year, December 31. Moving on to the spring, if we pursued this idea for a single statewide wild turkey hunt area, and again, if this happened, it wouldn't be until the spring of 2025, we'd have a general license that was valid for the entire state and opened April 20th, and the season closed May 31st. Again, our standard spring dates. That would be valid for any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard. And then we'd issue a Type 3 license, and the season dates might vary on that. We could potentially have an April 1st opener running to the end of May. Again, it would be limited quota, so we'd have to determine the number of licenses that we would issue. And those licenses would be valid again for any male wild turkey or wild turkey with a visible beard. However, they would be limited perhaps to a set of counties or maybe just on private land. They could also be used as an archery only or an early archery tag, or the season dates could be varied as well. And again, that Type 3 license, just like in the fall, is intended to reduce populations. What we've found, as we've learned more from research about turkey mating systems, is that when you hunt those birds earlier, you have a tendency to take the dominant toms. And the dominant toms can suppress the breeding of other toms, and it may take them a while to come into breeding condition. And this is due to the social hierarchy that is found within the tom turkeys. The females, the hens, also have a social hierarchy, and until the dominant hen mates and begins nesting, the other hens will not begin nesting. So by hunting early, you can remove dominant toms and delay nesting and nesting success and mating. So the whole intention of having that Type 3 license in the spring, again, is to reduce populations where they are overabundant. There's some other changes we're possibly thinking about if we opened up the turkey regulations and went to the statewide hunt area concept. One of those is to prohibit roost shooting. And what that would mean is that you would not be able to attempt to kill a wild turkey that's perched in a tree from 1 hour before sunset to 1 hour after sunrise the following day. And this is a couple reasons, one of which is to not disturb roosting turkeys, but also the safety concerns with discharging, especially rifled firearms, into the air without a safe backstop. Another thing that we'd like to do is change the evidence of sex requirements, and again, this is normally for the spring season, and to make it more like the big game is these days. What that would mean is that you would just basically have to have evidence of sex with you or the carcass until it's processed, but it doesn't have to be attached. So that means if you harvested a bird in the spring, you could retain just a leg with a spur or a patch of skin with a beard and some breast feathers attached until you made it home and that bird was finally processed. And that'd make it a little bit easier for folks that travel a long ways or to multiple states when they're turkey hunting in the spring. And again, make it more in line with what we require for big game these days. If we went to a single statewide hunt area, then the Yellowtail Wildlife Habitat Management Area, you'd only be able to hunt that by permission slip, a hunt management area permission slip, and those would be free, and there would be a competitive drawing for them. And again, that was just mainly to limit the number of hunters on that small unit. Another thing that's been brought to the department numerous times, both in harvest survey comments and in other public comments that we fielded, is the idea of possibly going to a shotgun archery only season in the spring. Currently, actually the data shows for the last 5+ years that 90% of non-residents and 75% of residents already use either shotguns or archery equipment only in the spring. So there's only a small percentage, 10% of non-residents and 25% of residents that are using rifled cartridges. And the main push behind this is for safety, especially as spring turkey hunting is beginning to grow in popularity in the state. And in some areas, especially like in the Black Hills, where we're hosting upwards of 2,000 hunters in the spring, it is a safety issue. So we're wondering, is that something that we need to look at doing at this time? There's some other things we might consider with that. Besides just going shotgun archery, maybe we would want to include rimfire firearms, so firearms that are 17 caliber or larger and 1 inch in overall cartridge length. There's some folks that hunt with firearms that aren't strictly shotguns that fire 410 shot shells, and with some of the new TSS shot, these 410 gauge shotguns and shot shell firing firearms can be pretty darn lethal at turkeys out to 50 yards or more. And so that would be for folks using like a lever action 410 rifle or a TC Contender in 410 or a BFR revolver in 410. So that's something to consider. That's actually would be in a different chapter though. That's chapter 32, our regulation governing the what you can use to take wildlife with. So if you have any comments on the proposed seasons or our ideas for going to a single statewide wild turkey hunt area in a couple years, if you could get those to us, that would be great. All of the written comments need to be received by 5 p.m. on March 29th, and they can be mailed to our Casper Regional Office. You can also go to our website online, and you can comment there on the various regulations. If you have any questions, you can always give me a call, and my phone number is listed there. And all of the written comments that we receive by mail and the online comments, all of those copies go to all of the game and fish commissioners, and so they do read and take those comments seriously. And I appreciate your time and consideration of the seasons that we've proposed and the potential to go to a single statewide hunt area for wild turkey. I hope your hunt coming this fall and spring are good ones. Thank you for your time.